Hey there, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to give my in-depth review of the Calm app. I've been using it for a little more than a week, and I definitely have some thoughts. This is the second part of my Calm review, and it is part of the overall app review series that I'm doing, so let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome to Calm Insomniac, where we're a community of people trying to get a better night's sleep. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications. Okay, so before I go into the in-depth review, I want to just go over the general features of the app itself, and kind of a refresher from the first part of this series. In case you don't know, Calm is the #1 sleep, relaxation, and meditation app, and it's a free download for either iOS or Android. However, it's really meant to be used as a subscription, so there is a $69.99 annual fee, or on their website there is a lifetime membership option, but that's $400, though you only pay that once, so you do have to consider it. If you don't want to pay right away, there is a 7-day free trial where you can unlock all of their premium features. However, you can always use the app for free, but the content is extremely limited. So I want to go through the app by the categories that they offer and talk about the features and the content that I use over the past week or so. Now, I understand that a week is not a very long time to try something, but for me this was actually good enough to get started and be able to share this with you. So I'm going to begin by talking about the sleep category, and this is the category that is probably the most limited in terms of what's available for free without the subscription or the trial. When I was using it, there were only 3 stories that were available that are unlocked all the time, and they're called Blue Gold, The Waterfall, and The Grand Plan. Now, Blue Gold was my favorite. It was narrated by the actor Stephen Fry, and it just talks about walking through the lavender fields in the Provence region of France. It was really calming, the British accent definitely helped, and I really enjoyed that story, and it almost made me fall asleep when I listened to it. And I really wish I had fallen asleep. The other stories were okay, but they didn't suit me, and here's why. They were really meditations in disguise. So there's nothing wrong with that, but again, for me it just didn't really work. I would rather hear an actual bedtime story. Now, The Waterfall, I truthfully don't really remember it very much, but The Grand Plan, let's talk about a little bit. So it was the story of a woman who was just going through her nighttime relaxation routine. And the thought behind the story is that you associate with the woman and you begin to relax and imitate the things that she's doing. Now, you might not get up and start making tea or putting on a classical music record, but when it gets to the point where she's sitting down and she's breathing, they're describing her breathing in a lot of detail, and that might be able to help you. So that's where the guided meditation is, through a story. Now, it's hard for me to really understand exactly why this kind of story-guided meditation thing didn't work for me, but there is one really big reason why I didn't enjoy The Grand Plan, and that is, it's a really nitpicky thing, but they mispronounced a musical word, and I was distracted for the rest of it. When the woman in the story puts on a classical music record, the narrator explains that the sounds coming out of the record player, she describes it as the timbre. Now, she meant timbre, spelled differently and pronounced differently. Timbre is the unique sound quality that gives each instrument its unique sound. So it's how you can hear a trumpet and a flute and you know which one is which, and you don't need to see the instrument. Timbre is wood, and just because a lot of our instruments are made of wood doesn't mean that they sound like wood. Now, this is a common mistake. If you're not a musician, you probably don't know that it's pronounced timbre. I suppose this is one of my personal pet peeves of hearing timbre mispronounced, but it's done commonly, And there's even an episode of That 70s Show where they mispronounce it. So as soon as I heard timbre pronounced timber, I was distracted for the rest of the story. I know that that's extremely nitpicky and not a reason to write off a story, but if I'm using this to try to relax, then it lost its effect for me. The next category that we can talk about is the meditate category, and if you're looking for beginning guidance on how to meditate like I was, then this is going to be probably the most beneficial part of the app for you, with or without the paid subscription. The meditation app has a lot of mini courses that are designed to be used over a period of time, 7 days, 21 days, 30 days. The courses give you a really good beginning foundation if you're looking for some sort of guidance, especially if you're new. The program that I went through is just called the 7 Days of Calm, and it walks you through how to begin meditating, learning how to breathe properly, how to feel sensations in your body and be aware of them and not necessarily be concerned about what you're feeling. And it also tries to teach you how to lessen your mental distractions. And it's really hard. And meditation is a skill that has to be practiced. And that's something that the teacher goes over. Her name is Tamara Levitt, and she's actually the head of mindfulness for Calm. One of the best things about using a guided course is that it does just that. It gives you guidance. So as a beginner, I'd only once tried meditation before, but it was very haphazard and I only did some light research. And the problem with that is I would get frustrated when I felt like I wasn't getting good results, and so I quit rather easily. But with this, you actually go through a step-by-step process, and it's like you have a coach there helping you. So as soon as I would start to feel distracted or frustrated that I wasn't doing something right or that my mind was going elsewhere, it seemed like almost immediately that was when Tamara's narration would come back and she would say, "You're probably feeling frustrated right now, and that's okay." And having that guidance is really important. And knowing that these challenges are normal for everyone is really good and comforting. One of the best things that I got out of using the 7 Days of Calm course is that I'm now much more aware of where I hold tension in my body, and I've discovered that a lot of my tension is in my neck, and I'm noticing it just during regular daily activity. So I suppose that's good that I'm now more aware of how my body feels. And I'm excited to try to continue more of this meditation practice, and practice really is a key word. She says that it's like any skill you want to master. You have to practice it daily in order to get better and really improve and reap the benefits from meditation. One thing to keep in mind is that while there are more choices that are available in the meditation category for those that aren't doing a paid subscription, there are still some limitations. So you might need to check and see which courses are available, because a lot of courses, only the first lesson is available for free and everything else requires a subscription. So that's something to check, but there are options there, such as the one that I did, 7 Days of Calm. Okay, now we need to talk about the music category, and this for me was unfortunately the biggest disappointment of the entire app. So if you are looking for music just to have in the background, you want something else to try as you're relaxing or falling asleep, you're actually going to have the most choices of content in this category. Almost everything is available without a subscription, and I think that's really great, because there's just so many choices, and they're collaborating with some really high-profile people. There's Lindsey Stirling, there's 5 Seconds of Summer, so a lot of choices. But here's why I didn't like it. I listened to 3 different albums. I listened to Lindsey Stirling's album, as well as an album called Reflection, and an album called Soothing Piano. The problem with all 3 is that they sound overly processed, and in some cases fake. Now, I'm sure that Lindsey Stirling was really playing, and there was a real pianist playing the soothing piano tracks, but it just didn't sound like an acoustic instrument. It sounded like they took all of the depth and all of the reverb out of the mix, and that really distracted me. Now, if you're not a musician, or you're a musician that doesn't care about listening to music that sounds overly processed, then you probably will enjoy most of the content that's available. But for me, hearing that kind of overly processed sound was really upsetting to me and kind of let me down. I would much rather hear something that sounds really authentic and live than something that sounds like it was mixed together in a studio. So again, if that isn't something that bothers you, you might enjoy it. But for me, I really couldn't listen to the music because I was thinking too much about how I didn't like it. Now in the more category, there are things like breathing exercises, stretching exercises, and other master classes. The problem is almost everything is required with the paid subscription, or you can check it out during the free trial. The breathing exercises are available always. All you really need to do is pick how long you want to do the breathing exercise, and then it will show you visually on screen when you should breathe in, hold, and breathe out. And that's nice to do just quickly during the day, at night, right before you go into bed. But again, everything else is part of their premium content. In the settings tab, there's actually a lot of customization, and that's a good thing because there are some defaults that I'm not really a big fan of. So the first thing is the app naturally plays nature sounds in the background when you're not actively using some of their content. So when you listen to a story, the sounds go away, but when you're just browsing and seeing what you want to use, there's nature sounds. That was actually distracting for me, and if you don't want to turn down your phone's media volume, then you can go and there's a setting where you can turn that off. Other settings that you can use are there's a do not disturb feature for especially when you're meditating, so no other notifications come in while you're using the course. You can also change the wallpaper or the scenes as they call them and just mix up what you're looking at. You can change things like brightness, and as well as you can do normal things like manage your subscription, change your email address, and all those typical things. So what are my final thoughts, and do I recommend this app? Well, I think the biggest question that you have to ask yourself is, do I value premium content? If you're just using the app for free, I think it's really great to keep on your phone regardless. There's enough free content on the app that if you're using the app only once in a while, then I think there's enough there for you. Though it depends. If you're looking for bedtime stories, you really only have a few choices. Although they have added some newer ones since I stopped testing, they tend to be a bit shorter, like 15 minutes, whereas the stories I listened to were around 30 minutes long. For music or meditation, there's a lot more content there if you're looking to just use the app for free. However, if you really value premium content, then that's where you're going to get the real benefit from this app. Especially with the bedtime stories, if you don't have the subscription, you only have access to less than 5 to 10% of the content that's available. Calm is a great app if you use it as a tool and not as a cure. If you use it as a guide, that's how you're going to get the benefits from the app. If you try to make it as a quick fix, it's definitely not going to work. The guided meditations are the best part of the app for me. Like I said, the music didn't really do much for me, and it's unfortunate that with the sleep time stories, you only have access to such a small amount compared to if you pay for the premium subscription. So if you value the premium content, then it might be worth the rather lofty price for you. However, if you don't care about the premium content and you're okay with having really limited content available to you, then it might be worth just to keep around. I think having access to those free meditation courses are really valuable. The premium content is due to their collaborations with many high-profile people, actors, musicians, but a lot of this kind of content can be found elsewhere online. You have to decide if you value that premium content or not. But overall, I definitely think Calm is worth keeping downloaded just for occasional use. That I think it's really great for. So there you go, that's my in-depth review of Calm after, again, using it for only about a week. I will keep it on my phone and continue using some of the features, and maybe I'll do an update video down the road. Let me know in the comments. Have you used Calm? Are you going to try it? And what did you think about it? And did it help you? Don't forget to like, subscribe. Also, check out our website where I have a blog where all of these videos have companion articles. Go check it out at calminsomniac.com. Sign up for our email list as well, where you'll just get updates about the articles that are posted and the product reviews that I do. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.